Do you think that kind of ground game, like
You're,
adding
you're,
fuel to the fire?
yeah, you're a smart guy, Harry. So that's our bread and butter. That's our secret sauce, to be honest with you. So we've embraced AI. I mean, we capitalize on that, obviously, to help us run faster, be more efficient. But we will never, never turn our back on what got us here and what continues to keep us here. And that's our ground game.
Welcome, Dave, to the Harry Handles It podcast. Very excited for our conversation today. Super excited to hear about kind of your history with the Law Tigers and the general business operations and growth of that company. I remember seeing them for as long as I can remember, seeing lawyers on billboards. So it's kind of cool to be here to chat with you today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Harry. This is an important platform, and thanks for having me on as your guest.
Of course, man. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your history with Law Tigers and kind of your role in the growth of that organization.
Yeah, man. So I've been with Law Tigers going on 9 years now. I tell you, time flies, and I'm currently serving as the Senior Vice President of Business Development and Growth. I joined Law Tigers, let's say, I think there was like 4 markets in about 3 states that we occupy. Fast forwarding to today, we currently occupy 32 states, 47 markets. So we've had some pretty incredible growth over the years, and we pride ourselves in partnering with some of the top firms, PI firms, that is, across the nation.
And so can you give our viewers a little bit of background about what Law Tigers is and what kind of services they provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So Law Tigers is a motorcycle brand in the legal field. We're the largest motorcycle lawyers in the country. So what we do for PI firms is we come in as companion brand and we generate high value cases to these firms. But we're the real deal as far as what I mean by that is we're, majority of us are riders. So we're at, all the rallies around the country, locally, nationally. We're in parts stores, tow companies, dealerships. So we're in the trenches. This company was actually created by Warren Levinbaum himself. He's an avid rider. Getting a little bit older now, doesn't ride as much, but he and his son actually co-own the company. But Warren was a defense attorney for 30 years prior to actually launching Law Tigers. And the story is pretty cool because he's already had a pretty full career. And he started Law Tigers at the age of 56, right? He was, practicing defense law, kind of beat down, underserved, and just trying to figure out a better way to serve people, but also to grow his financial portfolio. So, he kind of beta tested it on his firm, some of his partners' firms, and fast forwarding to the day, like I mentioned, we are the resource when it comes to writing. The writers know us nationally. I always like to describe us similar to Starbucks with coffee. There's a bunch of mom and pop shops locally, but when we arrive to a market, people recognize us as the employer or the writer brand of choice when it comes to legal.
So how is Law Tigers over the years, going from 3 or 4 markets to the over, I forgot the number you said, but more than dozens.
Yeah.
How has that growth scaled? And what do you think was the driver of that kind of growth?
Yeah. I smile because I'm a funny person. I was going to say it was me, just joking. But no, man.
Don't sell yourself short, man.
Yeah. No, yeah. We've had some fun over the years. But to answer that question, I believe if you play the game the right way, we're very authentic in what we do, Harry. We, like I said, we're not out here to try to capitalize on the injured, right? We know that people are going to get in action, especially when you're riding on 2 wheels. It's incredibly difficult to stay safe, but our, authentic approach and being able to make an emotional connection with our audience and be recognized as a trusted resource has really helped us. So I always tell people, man, I love football analogies. If you just focus on playing the game the right way, moving the chains, then you will end up where you need to be. And obviously that's in the end zone, right? And so we've done that in each quarter. We've got better, right? Football analogy. So each year we've gotten better. But we do a lot of stuff. So we attend legal marketing shows across the country. I've been honored to grace a lot of stages, doing a lot of public speaking engagements. We spend a lot of time on marketing. It's very difficult to drive through a state and not see our billboards or see our commercials and radio spots. We partner with, a lot of professional teams. So we really, blanket the market very heavily on the commercial side. And the B2B side that I run, we kind of appreciate some of the dividends of those efforts. So yeah, so it's been a combination of things, but if we can really point to the target, I believe Law Tigers, we're all about doing the right thing and helping out people.
And I don't want to sell anything or the company short at all, but is the general business model like a lead generation platform for different law firms who partner with Law Tigers?
That's a great question because there's a confusion around that. So what we have, this is almost like a franchise model, if you will. I kind of use the Starbucks deal. So we have a full-blown marketing program where it's actually a plug and play to personal injury law firms. And so, to be more direct, if you peel back the layers of the onion, yeah, we are a lead gen, right? Because at the end of the day, we're generating these cases. But we're just so much different than that. So we don't just generate leads and sell leads. So we don't do any fee sharing. We're a marketing agency. So all of our members, they keep 100% of their fees. But the way we like to look at it is that we're a plug and play companion brand to their existing brand, but they're able to capitalize on a very cool niche operation, right? And I'm always I talk about this around the country. There's riches and niches, right? Anytime you can have a hyper focus on the audience and really be the employer or the brand of choice, now you have a incredible way to scale. That should have answered that question earlier. That's an incredible way to scale. I mean, you look at some of the best in the country, not just Starbucks, but you look at In-N-Out Burger. I don't know where you live, but I love food, obviously. In-N-Out Burger, Chick-fil-A. My
best.
kids, they always want to go to these places when we're out, and it's always a line around the corner. And why is that? I mean, there's Jack in the Box there, there's McDonald's, because, well, In-N-Out, they know what they do well. They're going to give you 3 options. A single, a double, or a triple, right? And so we've capitalized on that too, right? That's all we focus on, Harry, are motorcycle cases. That's all we do. We live, breathe, and eat it, right? That's who we are to the core. And so it allows us to really do a great job and really protect and watch over our own.
One part of what you said kind of resonated and was very interesting. On top of the traditional marketing branding plays that there are, billboards, radio, like you said, Law Tigers is in dealerships, is talking to parts stores, is doing the ground game at the rallies. And so that's interesting. Do you think that kind of ground game is like adding fuel to the fire?
Yeah, you're a smart guy, Harry. So that's our bread and butter. That's our secret sauce, to be honest with you. So we've embraced AI. I mean, we capitalize on that, obviously, to help us run faster, be more efficient. But we will never, never turn our back on what got us here and what continues to keep us here. And that's our ground game. You're right. And so, our grassroots make up about 45 to 50% of our new case intake, right? So what we did is we pretty much replicated what pharmaceutical sales rep or medical sales folks would do in the healthcare arena, but we just kind of replicated it for riders. So just like pharmaceutical sales reps, they're calling on physician practices or hospitals and dropping off Starbucks or dropping off coffee and runs. And so we do the same thing on the motorcycle side. So we're at Indian Shop, we're at Honda, we're at Harley Davidson. So our guys and girls, they're the face of our program. They're market managers. We have about 45 of them across the country. They ride in these wrapped vehicles. So you'll see the Law Tiger vans has our wrapped, our logos, our brand on it. And then inside the van, it's outfitted with product, everything for shops. So, obviously the auto shops, it's just a really strategic and clever way to really be in the trenches. We understand organically, through SEO, PPC that we do, and a lot of our social content strategies. All that is definitely important, but we're already in the front lines. We're connected to first responders. So we're just not connected by way of just giving them free stuff. We're connected by way of really creating some meaningful connections and relationships. So obviously, that's kind of our cheat sheet. So thanks for calling that out. That's really what separates us from anyone that's trying to do this around the country.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that's probably the hardest part of it. You know what I mean?
But it's a bunch of work, and we've been doing it for 25 years. We have like a 25-year head start, and but it's not for the weak. I mean, it takes a lot of coordination, takes a lot of driving and building an accountability process, because you're trusting, men and women to go out there and do their jobs. And we like to pride that rehire right. I mean, we take it so serious that we have personality assessment tests to make sure we're rehiring the right type of folks that's aligned to our core values here at Law Tigers. And we love and they love it. It's like a dream job for many, because most rider enthusiasts, they say they can hang around dealerships all day, go to rallies, and that's almost like, you're a ball player, man. You playing football, basketball, whatever you're doing, playing golf. It's like, okay, I get paid for it, but man, I would do this for free.
Yeah. Put
So
me in, coach. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
That's really cool, man.
yeah,
But one thing that we struggled with, that I think all firms struggle with, is the attribution. And you mentioned, 45 to 50% coming from those kind of channels. Like, how do you tackle that attribution problem on your end to figure out really like which channel is producing
yeah.
the best?
Well, again, I guess, I can give you all this stuff for free. Just joking. You ask some really good questions. Normally on podcasts, they had some high level questions that I can skate around. Yeah. So our strategy, Harry, in what you're asking, I don't mind sharing. It's a mixed marketing strategy. So the only way this really works is that you don't put all your ducks in one basket. Most folks, they try things, right? They'll say, "Oh, I'm going to try SEO. I'm going to try PPC. I'm going to try digital. I'm only going to do digital because people only find you through phones." Or then you have some old timers that say, "You know what? I want billboards." And some folks they love talking heads. They love driving by, seeing their face on billboards too, right? It's kind of like an eagle thing. Like, man, I
For
got
sure.
30 billboards in the local area. Then you have some that, go to the stream of grassroots where they may, support some local, charities and give away turkeys around Thanksgiving. I love this part because it just happened last week, right? Going back to school, they give away backpacks, but that's just not enough, right? That's kind of a gesture to say, hey, look what I'm doing. But what really moves the needle, Harry, is just that what we call infinity marketing. So I'll put my little finger up here. So infinity marketing, think of a flywheel, if you will. So we have digital, right? Take back digital, mass media. We have grassroots, and then we have traditional advertisement. All of these mediums that we execute, they synergistically complement one another, and we're just very clever on how we spend in those areas, and how much effort, what percentage of marketing that we will submit to for each category. I can't go into that because that's
No,
why people hire us to do that, but that's kind
I
of
hear
our
you.
our strategy. So we even create internal fights, right, amongst our marketing teams of where the cases are coming from, right? Because we're so competitive and aggressive on doing right by our clients. But the answer is, it's really synergistically where we're covering all our bases, right? Everything matters, right? It's called brand awareness, right? Brand recognition, and then it graduates you to brand dominance, and that's our goal in every market.
And I appreciate everything you're sharing. It's really, really insightful. And like selfishly for me, I'd be wondering, if I wanted to enter a new market, like, would you put all your eggs in kind of that infinity cycle basket and kind of do all at the same time, or has your strategy been a little different than that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there's value in diversifying anything, because I mean, even when you buy things, right? If you're investing, you don't want to put all your ducks in one basket, because if one may be struggling, the other one's going to offset. So, but to answer your question, when it comes to marketing, I believe cashing your net abroad, because there's so many ways to connect to your audience. You have visual learners, right? You have digital folks that you're going to connect. You have folks by auditory. That's why people, they count out radio. Radio's still powerful and impactful, right? Then you have kinesthetic, right, way of communicating. And these are your three levels of communication. Look, man, I'm giving all the cheats. I'm giving you all the good stuff. So that's three ways of communication and how you connect to your audience. And so strategically, we address all of them, right? So for kinesthetic folks like me, man, the way I was raised, or even my wife, she's Puerto Rican, like they're touching Philly, they're very loud, and so they need to see you. They need to be in the trenches with you. Then you have
Yeah.
some that are just auditory. That's how you get their attention. That they're listening to music. They just in love with that. And then you have those that are visual, that needs to see you by television. So we kind of study our audience and avatar of a client, and then we speak directly to them in many different ways. Because what many outfits or marketers don't look at is you have to study your audience. Like, how do you make that emotional connection? How do you reach them? And how do they receive you? Because you can't market to everyone the same way. And I go back to coaching, because I do coach a little football here at just my last youth season for my boy. He's 13 years old. But, I
Nice.
had one of the parents say to me, they said, well, Dave, and she was a little bit upset. She says, I noticed you're not coaching all the kids the same way. And I said, what do you mean by that, man? She's like, well, some that you're just encouraging, and some you're just getting on. And I said, well, just to be clear, that's my goal. My goal is not to coach everyone the same way, because people have different needs, and then some can receive it. Like I have some kids that I can get on their butt, and that's going to light a fire in them. And then some are going to shut down. So I can't coach everyone the same way. And how's that relative to the marketing? The same way. How are you going to gain the attention of your audience? You just can't blast and throw spaghetti against the wall and hoping that it sticks. So that's kind of our strategy, and it's been working for us.
I love that, man. Like that resonates pretty deeply because in starting this and leading people and leading a team of lawyers, leading a team of support staff, kind of building this firm, those are lessons I learned, kind of early on. You can't teach, coach, and expect everyone to perform the same way. You got to tailor the message. You got to tailor the coaching to the specific person so it resonates with them. And all communication, marketing is communication, I suppose. It's all the same.
It's the same.
That's really high level stuff to be able to communicate the message of your firm or your company to the public in the way they want to hear it. Like you 100%. Said, billboards. If it's audio, radio.
Yes.
Or the ground game if, people need to touch and feel stuff.
Yes. And the touch and feel is big, man, because now you're on the front lines. And a lot of people overlook that because they're like, I don't have time for that. And there's cheat codes to do it. Obviously, we have teams we have regionals that oversee our market managers. Then we have VPs that oversee our regionals, we're around the country. But say if I was, running a law firm, man, there's externs, if there's local colleges nearby, there's folks that want that real life experience to come in and handle your social pages and jump out, to local civil events and things like that to get that experience. And I hate to say that's cheap labor, but but it's also a way for them to gain that experience, whether in college, but also you can, kind of bring them into your firm to expand your manpower, so to speak. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I always say keep people first and they'll keep you first, right? It's just very simple. It's very hard to connect to an audience when they don't see you, right? When you just drive into your little nice gated community or something like that. And I'm talking to myself, and but I want to be in the trenches because it's a realness that they attach to. And people do business with people they like and trust before they can care anything that you're offering and what you're sharing. And we like to win on the front lines of that before the accident happens. There's a lot of firms that react to, okay, when the accident happens, how do we get the case? But man, we're touching you far beyond that even before you get a bike.
That's right. Even before you like motorcycles, I love that, man. That's really powerful. And that's a marketing philosophy that, it goes a long way, obviously.
Yes.
So kind of switching gears a bit.
Yeah.
What's the value add for law firms to partner up with a company like Law Tigers?
Well, the value proposition you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, most firms that partner with us don't need us, right? And I know that's funny because we're different than any other vendor out there. We don't really, look at, let me frame it this way, where if you're looking to diversify your firm with an incredible niche that's going to take a little pressure off your existing brand, here's a thought. So my kids, I have kids, they think they're athletes and things like that, but they also think they're shoe heads, right? So they have all these shoes in the room, and I'm telling my wife, why you keep buying all these shoes? Their feet are still growing. But it's a good point because I'm a shoe head as well. And I think that's probably where they got it from. But, I like certain, special, drops of low dunks, different things, or, designer shoes. But when I look at Nike, I have about a nice collection of Nike, right? And so do my kids. They do the Jordan stuff. I don't really do the Jordan stuff. But, when I'm looking at the spend in that category, it's still going to the same bottom line. So these companion brands make sense, no matter if you're effectively using Law Tigers or not. I think that if you're depending on only one brand within your firm, you're missing out on additional market share, right? And so we look at it that way. So when we come in, the value proposition for firms is saying, Dave, man, we've been marketing on this one name for a long time. And many of our firms, it's been passed on generations. Some of the senior founders, they're no longer even part of the practice. They've sold it to the younger folks, but they're still marketing under that name, which is great. But bring in a companion brand. That's going to do the blocking and tackling for you to gain additional market share. And to maybe even to certain demographics that your brand don't have opportunity to reach, such as me. Like I'm going to resonate to a specific audience and they're going to love me. But there's going to be another audience that probably not going to receive me very well. But if I bring this Law Tiger brand, that's an iconic brand, it's almost like a Nike swoosh, or I don't know your favorite college team, but I'm from California, so I rock out with the Trojans. But so when you have that iconic brand, now people, it meets people exactly where they're at, non-biased. So it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Jewish, Christian, don't matter any of that, because they resonate with the tiger, right?
The
Watch
message,
over
yeah.
my own, watch over our own, loyalty. And so they fall in love with the brand, and the brand takes on a life of its own. So that's the value proposition for many firms. They come in and say, well, why should I build this in-house? You guys done all the work. We're gonna license this from you guys, and we're gonna plug and play. And so now it's XYZ firm. They happens to own Wild Tigers, and then they have exclusive rights to the brand for their particular market. And you talk to our firms, many of our firms been with us, almost 20 years, 15 years plus, and they own multiple markets, because once they launch a market, they want more of it. So it's pretty exciting to see.
How far does the market exclusivity kind of reach out, or does it
Yeah,
depend
great
on
question. It's
investment?
aligned to designated market areas. So really TV buys, right? And then so some states are just its own sole territory. But like California, there's like 4 markets in Southern California, and then 2. We bifurcated the Bay Area in 2 markets, so there's 6 total. Florida has 5, but then you have some standalones like Georgia just has 1. So yeah, it's really aligned to the designated market area, but it's an exclusive membership. That's the thing, is once we find our partner, it's off the table. And there's power in that. We don't do any fee sharing, right? So when you talk about lead gen, we're a little different, and you're not. So we've asked our members to shift their paradigm on acquisition costs, right? Because most firms, they look at their acquisition costs. How much is it going to cost for this case? We tend to think that that's more transactional, and that's the way of most attorneys. They're transactional folks, and I'm not picking on them. It's just the way they do business. But what we ask them to do is say, okay, shift your paradigm from being transactional to more ROI structure, and that's what we do. ROI structure aligns to us because we're more so relational driven. It's the long game. We're not looking for just a quick turnover by saying, hey, I give you this much money, I expect this. No, this is the long-term game, because we know once we entrench ourselves in those communities and we win over their trust, each year we scale. Now it's just the water spigot. You can't turn off the water spigot. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and it scales by a percentage or 2 each year. So you go from 3x to 4x to 5x to 7x, and you're making millions in your market, even compared to your existing brand. So it's a interesting concept. Like, I said 18 years in healthcare before joining Law Tigers, and I met with Ari and his dad. I never forget this during the interview process, and I didn't want to meet with them, actually, because I was like, oh man, I don't. They wanted me to help grow, and their business development, their sales side. And I said, well, what the heck, I'll shave and go meet with these guys. But it took me 10 minutes to realize that they had something incredible. Once they kind of gave me a high level overview, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, they have a niche, they have a built-in market audience. Man, let's go. I told my wife, I was like, geez, I thought I was gonna have a little more time out between careers, but these guys have something special, and I want to be a part of it. So that's kind of how I fell into the Law Tigers lot. It was pretty
Awesome.
interesting. And then by this, I'm not picking on them. I sat across from, and I understand the last name Levinbaums. They didn't have no tattoos or anything. They're just good business, good people, man. And I was like, just stereotyping a little bit. I was like, these 2 Jewish cats own Law Tigers. This is awesome. It shocked me, man. It shocked me. I
That is
thought it was the
awesome.
coolest thing.
Like, where the
You
tattoos
know?
at?
Yeah. But they're avid riders, man. Ari's been riding since he's a little guy, and Warren, of course, man. But they're just, they understood that there was a void in the market, and they filled it. And hey, hats off to them for creating something special. I'm just happy to be part of it.
Awesome. And were you in pharmaceutical sales and growth too before, or
Yeah,
medical
great
sales?
question. I was on the talent acquisition side. Yeah, I was in the medical field for 18 years on physician practice management. I've served as an executive team for the past 10 years. AB Med, I was the president, and yeah, so it was really, dealing with providers and physicians, and then transferring over to lawyers, attorneys. It was very some similarities. I would like to say I'm having more fun with the attorney lawyer, because they're more like-minded like me, like to have a good time, good personalities and stuff like that, hang out, grab a beer, whatever we do. And so I'm having a little bit more fun in this side of the business, but there's some similarities. Both are super smart, super ambitious business folks, and very successful. So, but it's been a great ride so far.
So other than the exclusivity for the markets, can the lawyers who partner up with Law Tigers, should they expect to field all the phone calls, screen them, or do you guys have like an intake center yourself
Yeah, no,
that
we're
you
full
field?
blown, man. So we like to say this thing is like, once you plug and play Law Tigers, you can, no matter if you're trying cases, no matter if you're on vacation with your family, we're doing all the work. We're generating cases. We have a 24/7 call center that fills in, that takes in the intake. We then do a soft intake and a direct pass through to your firm. A lot of our, they'll find us at 1-800 Law Tigers, but then, a lot of e-signups as well, especially after the pandemic, that, a higher percentage of our cases are coming by way of e-signups. But yeah, we do all the work on the front end all the way down to passing it. Once you sign them up, then you take it over to your firm and you guys sign up the case and then handle the case all the way to settlement. But yeah, it's once again, it's a full blown program, and that I think that's what our firms really like, is that we do ask them to be engaged and involved, and maybe pop into some shop talks, educate the riders on insurances to have and things like that. I think that's always important. But we do most majority of the heavy lifting.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
And like I heard you say something about AI before, but like
Mhm.
where in the marketing wheel have you guys implemented AI where you found it to be helpful?
Yeah, we've embraced AI as a tool that for marketing more effective. We to not to be robotic, but we use AI for analyzing data, identifying trends, optimizing campaigns on the marketing side. And I think one of the biggest advantages that the AI really gives us is really understanding. It helps us to make decisions faster and really continue optimizing campaigns for our membership firms as well. So, we've really inserted it on the marketing side. Now, for riders, we're slowly leaning that direction, as far as outreach. But riders are still old school, but everyone has a phone. Yeah,
That's
and
for
there's
sure.
different segments of riders, right? There's you definitely have your Harley Davidson guys, but you have your tour folks. You have your cross rocket guys. So yeah, and girls as well. I should not exclude the ladies because there's a lot of lady riders. So we like to just really utilize it to streamline things and allow us to be more proficient and more effective in what we're doing. I think everyone should. AI is here. It's you have to embrace it. It took a little while for me. I'm kind of an old timer, but man, once I realized that it made me better, I jumped all in. So I'm all in with AI. I think it's a great tool. Now, one thing that it will never replace, in my opinion, is the ability to make that emotional connection that I always talk about. Just
Of
won't have
course.
emotion. So you're always going to want to have your people first mentality. Connecting with people. You don't ever want to just hide behind a computer screen. But if you can do both well, I think that's the message and the strategy that's going to set you up for success.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah.
Is there, I don't know if this is maybe the right area to ask this, but is there a specific level of investment that Law Tigers looks for in one of their partner firms in either a market that's more established or an emerging market?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it varies, Harry, around size. So everything is tied to the number of injuries and fatalities per market. I'll give you an example. So, let's just say a mid-sized market of 1,600 injuries and fatalities. We make our money through the membership. So there's a false concept that most people think that they pay us all the marketing dollars, but actually we set forth the marketing budget and we have a slight markup, 15% to pay out teams to execute the strategy. But the way we make our money is through a membership program, the license membership, almost like a franchise fee. It's pretty flat for the first 3 years because we're building and we're growing, we're scaling, and then we ask you to renew for additional 3 years after year three. But there's a performance kind of I call it a parachute for our members. The first 3 years you can opt out at the completion of 12 months for the first 3 years, and so that puts the pressure on our team to perform, right? Because what challenges us, and I'm not here to disparage and pick on marketing or legal vendors, is that people will take your money, man, and they're taking it on the hoping that it'll work out. With us, we like to position ourselves to we're not gonna we have no choice but to make it happen, right? And so that's where that year opt out for the first 3 years. Some people are like, man, you're crazy. It takes time to build this thing. I'm like, well, it's pretty pricey marketing, and we want to do right by our members, but we also want to put some skin in the game. And that skin in the game is saying, hey, we're going to sign you up. You're going to come on board, and we're going to deliver on what we say we're going to deliver on. And so we do that for the first 3 years. And when we get to year 3, we already know that you're going to love the program because you already made tons of money with the program. And then we're going to ask you to renew for additional 3 years. And that's protected up to 9 terms. Can you believe that? So that's why,
Wow.
once we sell a market, people don't get rid of it because it's protected up to 9 terms. So if you do the math on that, that's 30-year membership, right? So it's protected up to a 30-year membership. And we get people halfway, 15 years, and they'll ask for extension of 10 years because the nice thing is, like again, marketing under a different brand is just so smart. Once you get over the pride part, right? Because that used to be one of my greatest challenges. Like, man, why would I invest in somebody else's brand and not my own? That's the number one objection I used to get. But now people are starting to understand that, you can get out of your own way, because it's not, I mean, heck, your objective is to position your firm to grow and scale in a meaningful manner. It doesn't have to just be under, your name, right? I mean, you own rights to Law Tigers brand. And so, and it's going to help grow your firm. So once they get past that, and then it works out well. It works out well.
And yeah, I mean, that thought did cross my mind. It's like, if you're paying into developing a different brand, like what is the value add or the incentive to do that versus build your own? But I see your point for sure.
Yeah, it's just, Law Tigers is here to stay. I mean, and owning rights to the brand. It's just like you and I, if we jumped out, did what Shaquille O'Neal, and started buying what does he have on? He has ownership in a lot of stuff, Jason Penney's and the piece of the deal. But yeah, we put our money together and we start opening up Starbucks around the country. No different than that, like a franchise model. But the objective is it's an incredible niche to capitalize, but also to help. For most importantly, we're here to help protect, and the injured, because riders they're misunderstood, underserved, and fragmented group. The even right legal system. They misunderstand riders. But riders come from all walks of life. They're just like us, man. And they're nurses, they're doctors, they're lawyers. They're a little bit of everything, backgrounds, religions, and the nice thing is, man, it's a lot of get riding going on in the country. Even going backwards to when we were faced by the pandemic, a lot of firms were really gradually declining as far as in their new case intake. They were suffering. And our members who had Law Tigers, they're very grateful that you can't tell riders what to do. You're not going to tell them to stay off their bikes. So it kept
Good
the
luck.
business going even through those tough times. So I won't say it's recession proof, but I tell you what, it's the closest thing to it in the personal injury space.
Yeah, I mean, it's clever, man. You dominate that market of riders. You're in their ear. You're always with them, and I'm sure there's other cases that come through other than motorcycle injury cases, right?
Yes,
Because you're in the
absolutely.
community.
They own vehicles, their relatives as well, and that's a good point actually, because even though that's all we focus on, you're going to get overflow of other cases that can send to you. You take care of your clients, they're going to come to you for your other side of the business as well. So it's once again, it's really an enhancer. My deal is if you're in one of the markets, just to our audience, and I'm not here to sell anything, but if you're looking to diversify your practice like that, it's an incredible niche to capitalize on.
Yeah, good point. This was an awesome conversation, Dave. Thank you so much for sharing, all of your insight. I really appreciate it. How can viewers who are looking to partner up with Law Tigers, how can they get in touch with you or somebody on your team so that they can get some more information?
Yeah, man. So great question. You can reach out to me directly. I can give you some of my team's info, but I don't mind. It's Dave at lawtigers.com, DAVE at lawtigers.com, and I'll get you to the right person. And also jump on our website, at lawtigersmarketing.com. So yeah, a lot of information there, and love to hear from you. And come on as a member if you just want to talk marketing. I love to talk marketing. If I can help you out in any way, I'll love to do that. And I'm on the road a bunch too, so hopefully I see you at an upcoming conference.
Sure, man. You're the man. Thanks for sharing.
Harry,
Talk to you, Dave.
Harry handles it, man. I want to let you know, Harry, thanks again for having me on your show. But also that brand is huge, man. Harry handles it. I love that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.